I just wanted to talk to you today about something kind of interesting that happened to me on an interview I did yesterday. So I was recording an interview for a major national news media station, and it's basically you record like a 90-minute interview, and then they cut it down to about 45 minutes and post it. And something kind of funny happened during the interview. I mean, for one thing, the interview was a little odd because it was mostly focused on stuff other than the book. But um, there was something that the person asked towards the end of the interview, and it it was kind of like it was kind of amusing, but also like I was like, wow, that just shows that they don't get it. They don't get what I'm doing here. And that was they made a comment or criticism, I guess I should say, about my website and that I have so many kind of power pose photos of me, like looking like a powerful, empowered woman in a business suit and stuff like that. And and the implication is she well, like, and then she read something I had on my website about empowering women, and you know, and there was another thing from it. Hey, Claire, what's up? So the the implication, right, of this was, and then also from something else that someone had written was, am I setting myself up as a guru, right? And I had to laugh because a having power poses on your website, right? Having showing women in empowerment, that's what I'm about. That's what I'm like showing women that we can step into and claim. So I'm certainly not going to apologize for that, right? But the second thing was because I talk about this framework and I say this framework covers everything that we consider the moral code, the moral law, everything that is codified in the law. And some people don't like it when I say that, but then I have to ask you, okay, well, and I walk lawyers through it, and they agree with me. So I'm not just like making that up, right? If I had to ask you, okay, is there anything in this framework that you disagree with? Some people don't like the fact that I say, hey, this covers all of this. But when you walk through it, like does anybody here think that it's okay to engage in slavery, murder, rape, assault? That's the first circle. Body ownership, right? Anybody think those are okay? No. Is there any country in the world where that is legal? No, right? Okay, what about our creations? Do you think it's okay to engage in theft or slander? I'm going to guess you're going to say no, right? Do you think it's okay to engage in fraud or blackmail, right, in your contracts and deals? Probably not, right? I think that's probably we're all going to say no, that's not okay. Do you think it's all right to incite violence, to tell your people to commit murder, to, incite environmental degradation? Yeah, probably not, right? I think we're going to be fairly unanimous on this. It's not like I'm talking about something that is way out there, right? These are the basics of what we consider just the base level of human morality. Don't do these things, right? Don't murder, don't steal, don't engage in fraud, right? So I walk people through it. I'm like, this is not new stuff I'm talking about, right? I didn't create these principles. These have existed forever, right? It's just I created a simple way to codify them, a simple logical way to describe them and put them into a framework that anybody can access. Most people think of the law and it's so complex, but I put it into something simple. So this does the opposite of what that person was talking about, right? And this is why I got to where I said they really just don't understand what's happening here, because this is the anti-guru, literally. And I expressed that to her. I said, this is the opposite of that. What I am teaching here is exactly what people need to hear so they don't get sucked in to something like that, right? Because what does any guru, leader who wants control, who wants power over other people, power over their minds, what is the exact opposite of what this is? They're going to try to teach people to give over themselves, right? To give over their will, to give over their bodies. Whereas I'm teaching the absolute opposite, saying, take back your power, take back your control, take back your ability to make free decisions with critical analytical thinking. This is the opposite. Nobody who wants to amass power wants to teach this or have anybody else teaching it, because it is the opposite of that power hold. It is giving power back to individuals when you recognize that these are my rights. These are my rights to my body. These are my rights to not have other people impose on my body and tell me what I have to do with my body, right? As long as I'm not violating other people, I get to make free and fair decisions about my body and my creations and, you know, the kinds of deals or contracts I want to enter into. If I'm not using undue pressure, if I'm not using blackmail, if I'm not lying about the terms of the deal, right? So this is giving the freedom and power back to the individual, which is the opposite of what gurus and strong leaders who are trying to hold on to power and control would want. Anyway, that was an interesting thing, because the person was looking at a website and being like, oh, it looks like you've got all these like power poses of yourself. And, you know, you're saying that you're showing a demonstration of something that is talking about, you know, like universal solution or universal morality. And as if that is somehow saying you're trying to be a guru or control people, right? And that's, to me, that's what gurus do, right? Versus being a teacher. Like, that's how I see myself. I'm a teacher. I can present to you what I have learned, and you get to choose what you're going to do with that. I don't really care about that choice, right? I do my best to just share what I have learned, what worked for me. If it works for you and it makes your life better and happier, great. I am so happy, right? That makes me happy. But I have no interest in controlling people's decisions, in really taking responsibility for people's decisions, right? You all need to do that for yourself. So all I can do is share with you a framework that can make that a lot simpler and easier and less stressful. So that's what this is for, right? It allows us to make decisions in a way that it just clarifies things. And when things are clear, it is so much easier to make decisions. It is so much easier to move forward in your life when you have clarity, right? The times that I struggle the most is when I don't have clarity on something. Like right now, for me, my biggest stress is trying to get clarity on what is my next steps. Like, what is it I need to focus on? What products am I creating to get out? Who is the demographic? Where am I putting my energy? And how to create that. And that honestly has been really stressful for me these last weeks, because you just try and figure that out, like with a business plan, you know, anything like that. And it's when we don't have clarity, when we don't understand certain aspects of things, that life gets stressful and it gets hard, because we have this internal conflict that's going on. Right? But there are things we don't need to have an internal conflict about. And the more things we figure out with clarity, the less we have internal conflict on those things, right? I'm not sitting around conflicted about whether I should do any of these things that the framework says don't do. I don't have a conflict there because I've figured it out. I know it exists. I'm like, okay, I'm good on that range, right? But there's other stuff that I have conflict about, like, you know, what am I supposed to do next? What am I focusing on next? What's the business plan? You know, what's the life plan? All of that stuff. And there is things that I haven't gotten clarity on yet. And that's what I have to focus on doing, is getting that clarity. But once we have clarity, then it becomes very easy to make good decisions. See? So that's what this provides. That's what this gives. And it gives the power back into your hands, so that you as individuals are not feeling like you have to find somebody else, some guru, some leader, some teacher, to tell you who you should be, what you should be doing, what's right and wrong, because you already have a simple framework that is laid out logically, that it's easy to follow. And after that, you just get to choose. And you may want to follow different people. You may want to do different exercises to figure out what's your life purpose or whatever, right? That's all good. But as long as you're not, violating any of these principles, that at least in that area of your life, you're in good shape. That's what gives you the clarity. So anyway, it was kind of an interesting experience, and interesting to see how people perceive things based on maybe their own internal conflicts, their own life lessons, and how somebody can take something and see it as completely different than what it is, which is kind of a fascinating thing, right? Like to say, okay, well, are you trying to set yourself up to be a guru? Or, not even asking that, just kind of making that implication, versus saying, oh, wow, this thing is actually completely the anti-guru. It's about not giving away your power to other people to tell you what to do. So anyway, that was kind of a funny experience that I had. So I hope you guys all have a great day. I just wanted to share it with you because I thought that was interesting. And I'm sure that other people will have questions about that too. I'm sure that that comes up for people. There are people who have that kind of way of looking at that world, that kind of perception of the world, the kind of thing where, maybe they feel like there aren't any solutions, or there isn't any way to figure out what is accurate or not. And so, they can perceive things like that. So, this is just to gain clarity for myself, to say, okay, well, how do I respond when people, say stuff like that? How do I think about it? What do I understand that to be? And so that was interesting. We'll see how the interview actually turns out, what gets cut in, what gets cut out. I don't know yet. But I thought that was an interesting twist, and it was interesting for me to see how people can misunderstand this at a very fundamental level, and not recognize that what it is about is individualism, and is not about being a guru and having power over other people, but really empowering each individual to make their own choices without violating other people. So I hope you all have an amazing day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.